Hey everybody, what's going on? ShabbyDoo here, and this week we've got the Icarus Week 8 content update, and it's a doozy. They talk about a lot of future requirements or a lot of future updates coming, and a few good quality of life updates for the actual Week 8 here. So let's dive into it here, and you know what? Right here at the top, they tell us, we're focusing on updating the Icarus map along with several gameplay balance changes, which is nice. The map has been a little lacking. This includes a whole bunch of much requested fixes ranging from fish and mushroom availability and optimizing performance heavy environment assets. Several holes in the map that have been patched up, which is nice because, it's a finished game. So, I prefer my finished games to not have graphical glitches right in path of the main missions. Most issues with collision volumes of rocks and caves being bigger than the cave itself should now be fixed, which is nice because, unless you got lucky with a lucky strike, you couldn't actually mine those nodes. You just got like one hit, and if you were lucky, you got it. If not, you got like 2 ores instead of, 30. All right, and then here we go. Responding to your most requested suggestions. Remember, this is just a response. This is not a they're done. It's just them talking about them. Keep that in mind. So while we typically just talk about what's included in each week's update, I would like to take a moment to address some of the most common issues raised on our feature upvote page, which is where they tell you to go to make your content suggestions and all that. So for what you want to see done. So make sure you do go there and don't just bitch on Discord or Twitter. So the feature upvote page and some updates that you can expect to see in the coming weeks. We look at reports from the feature upvote every week to see what is the most common issues and prioritize dev work accordingly. While fixes don't always make it into the weekly updates immediately, that doesn't mean they're being ignored. Some reworking features and testing can take several weeks. So the first one is one of my favorites here, the skippable intro. There's a common misconception that our intro video is not skippable. It's actually a loading screen. I had no idea. I have this on an SSD. I skip it immediately every time. So while it plays, the game is also being loaded. Once the load time is complete, you can skip the video by pressing any key. On slower machines, it may take some time, but on modern SSDs, only a few seconds. We've added a text notification once your loading is complete, so I've never noticed that, but that's just funny to me. Reminds me of the loading screen for GTA Vice City. All right, so resource balancing, which is a really interesting one here. So, they kind of just fluff up themselves here when they're talking about this on how, the session-based game present design challenges. Instead of engaging with tiers of content just once, players restart the progress dozens of times. So we've aimed to avoid arbitrary time sinks or item sinks, which is kind of hilarious that they say that when the entirety of tier 4 is an arbitrary time sink and resource sink. So the aim was clearly not met in the start, but they're doing some movement to fix that now. So finding the right balance between resources availability, ease of collection, processing time, and resource requirements can be challenging, especially at the higher tiers where recipes have much more complex resource chains. We've listened to players' feedback about T3 and 4 pacing and how it can feel like a grind. Honestly, tier 3 I don't really think is much of a grind, but okay, that's just my personal opinion. Tier 4 ridiculous. Tier 3 just feels kind of all right. In this patch, we are starting the first steps of ensuring that resources are properly distributed throughout the entirety of the map to alleviate this. So one of the most sought after updates here, I'm sure, is most small and medium caves have had their voxel counts increased to ensure that players are rewarded for seeking, owning, harvesting new caves. Several new caves have been added to the Riverlands, with dozens more coming across. So I wonder if those ones that were added to the Riverlands are like the one I made the video about that was 100, pretty much empty. There was another cave that was like that as well. I think it was in B3 or something like that. I don't remember exactly where anymore. But I found a couple caves in the Riverlands that were huge and empty, or had 6 nodes in it. It had a tier 1 resource allocation. It was a tier 3 cave. We also decided to spread out the electronics requirements for the fabricated material processor to other tier 4 machines so that players aren't as front-loaded with gold requirements and can engage in the content more slowly over time, which is nice. The electric carpentry bench, masonry bench, and material processor and chemistry bench have all had their recipes expanded and have started to become points of consolidation for crafting recipes from lower tiers. These changes are just beginning. Expect further iterations as we monitor the impact of our gameplay, which is nice. Finally, coming soon content is here, so you know what that means, that the game's almost released. So talent points and limit respec. This is by far the most talked about suggestion, obviously. Currently, you have a limited number of talent points and stop earning new ones after you reach level 40. Yep, we quite know that. That's why it's the most talked about topic in this game. We are well aware of what the limits are. While you can specialize in particular talent trees, you can't change your mind or try new strategies without creating a new character. We do intend to provide some way to respect or change how you have spent talent points at some stage, but it could have widespread consequences if not done right. I don't even know what that means. Like, what are they gonna like chop one of my legs off and I have like 50% movement speed because I left the hunting tree and became a resource gatherer? The specifics of exactly where it slots into the game are still in the design stage. Please continue to be patient. Once news is available, we'll be loud about it. Yeah, of course you will. This is why this one thing right here is probably why you've lost the largest percentage of what should be your active player base. All right, inventory sorting, another thing that's actually pretty nice. Another popular request that we're currently testing internally. We're testing out which criteria will be most useful, like sorting by name or weight, and this will be available in the future. How about name and weight? Two different things. I want to hold my pickaxe and lantern. So our plan to tackle this request is to add a new entire slot to your character inventory. This will allow you to, among other things, attach a lantern to your belt, ideal for mining in caves or at night, which, yeah, I mean, it's a frickin' lantern. It should have been attachable to my backpack from the beginning, or make a backpack that has a lantern built on it. Remember, none of this is out, by the way. Everything we've talked about so far, except for extra voxels in tier 1 and 2 caves and some reduced requirements for tier 4 crafting, or changed in some increased requirements, mind you. It's just been spread out. The requirements are the same, but it's just added to like newer machines. That's the only content change. That's it that we've talked about so far. Everything else is just, you know, a happy-go-lucky chit-chat we're having here. Those are just future stuff. And another one was armor blocking the camera. Sometimes when you die, like aiming or crouching, armor blocks your camera when you come back and reset. So they're working on it. It's not done, but they're working on it. All right, let's actually talk about let's talk about what's actually changed with this update instead of 90% of the content they've talked about, which is just them acknowledging that they need to do this and they're working on it. Which really didn't need to be in a week 8 update. It could have just been a separate post by itself on like a Tuesday and been like, hey, we hear you. Here's the shit we're planning to do. But no, they gotta, like, you know, they had to add a lot of fluff to this because, like I said, we've only talked about like 2 new things, and I could have said that in 3 sentences, and we're like 8 paragraphs, 10 paragraphs deep. But all right, let's go into the changelog here. Many of the topics discussed above are work in progress. Yeah, there are. All of them, pretty much. But here are the details of what is included in this week's patch. A large number of match fixes, cave updates, balance changes, and performance optimizations. They finally added crops to outposts. Now, I don't play outposts because I think outposts is a joke right now. You know, having limited biomes, no predators, limited resources in a sense, like, it doesn't do it for me. Like, if you're gonna make a creative mode, just make it creative in the first place. So I've never played it. I didn't realize that crops weren't in it. So what? Excuse you? So you had to go around and, you know, in a game where you're supposed to be building, which is the entire point to it, you can't make your own food. That is one of the silliest things I've ever read. They added mushrooms to Arctic caves. All right, I take it back. That is now the silliest thing I've ever freaking read in my life. You're putting mushrooms in Arctic caves. In what freaking world do we have blizzard shrooms? All right, what the heck is that? Whatever, they're clearly just trying to throw shit in new environments to make people go into them because no one goes in the tundra. There's zero reason to be in a tundra, except now to go get your frozen mushrooms. And go to the frickin' freezer section of your Piggly Wiggly and go get your mushrooms in the tundra. All right, they increased the quantity of mineral deposits in many caves to increase overall availability of resources. We're gonna have to check that out and see what this actually means. Is it 1? Is it 4? And we'll see. It says many caves, and they specifically said above in tier 1 and 2 caves, so it's definitely something we're gonna have to take a look at and discuss. They added first pass of new cave locations, which means they added a few caves to the Riverlands, and I'm assuming it's the ones we already knew about. Those big ones that had nothing in them, or close to nothing. They created new recipe sets for tier 4 crafting benches, including electric carpentry bench, the masonry bench, the chemistry bench, which combined multiple low tier recipes into the new machine. So it's kind of weird that they say they created new recipe sets when the recipe sets have existed. They've just had a nice little sticker on it that said coming soon. So, you know, but it's newly created. So that's good. We got some new benches to play with. They fixed a crafting bench recipes not properly accounting for stats, which reduced resource costs. I didn't notice this, honestly. It must be some of like the solo stuff. Added several recipes to the crafting bench that fit with the theme of home construction from the crafting table and player crafting. I don't know what that means. We're going to have to take a look at that. They didn't go into any specifics on this. Like, that's it. So it's very vague. You know, for a change log, that is very vague. It just has no details to it. But okay, go figure it out yourselves. They increased the crafting queue from 5 to 10 on several tier 4 benches. All right. I've never... I think I've run into a situation once where I used up all the slots. But okay. Decreased the cost of early tier 4 bench recipes. Now, this is the actual, like, one good thing this patch gave us here. Decreased the fabricator electronics from 60 to 30, so they halved it. And then removed the steel requirement. I don't really know why they did that. It's steel. Like, steel is already very rarely used, but okay. They changed the material processor from 80 to 60, which is great. Like, the only thing that thing does is make composite paste, and it doesn't do anything for our basic recipes, so pretty expensive. It's still expensive. In my opinion, it should be 40 tops, like 35, 40, but okay. Increased electronics cost of electric masonry bench, carpentry bench, and chemistry bench to 20. So I love how they state here in bullet 5, we created new recipes for these things. And then, you know, 4 more bullets down, they're like, oh, we changed the crafting requirements for these already existing recipes. Interesting. You know, minor other changes to secondary resources, so we'll have to check those out. They added alternate recipes for the composite paste, which can substitute gold for platinum. That's also great. Platinum was such an underused resource in this game. The only use it had was for a couple tools and nothing else. So finally, this brings out a whole new spectrum of composites being useful now and being worth getting. Like, when you had to get like 300 electronics to build all these different electrical machines, you couldn't waste gold on composite paste to make a composite arrows or a composite spear or anything along those lines. So we're gonna have to delve into this and see how lucrative this one update is to our loadouts here. We could possibly have a lot of stuff here that could make bow, like the tier 4 bow, very viable, and also the arrows. So more to come. Reduce player crafting speed to be more in line with benches, sure. Decrease the crafting speed of stone and concrete building pieces. Crafting speed of most mortar and pestle recipes. Decrease crafting speed of herbalism recipes. They added text to indicate when loading is complete. Okay. Fixed an issue where bosses sometimes not spawn in broken arrow recovery. That's annoying. They fixed some gaps in the terrain. They moved... They moved wild squash plants from the forest to the desert. Okay. My favorite thing about this is now we have blizzard mushrooms and sweaty squash. And I'm sure they're not going to change the aesthetic of them because, like, you know, desert squash is green, right? It's not yellow. So... And it's not like the acorn or squash plants that they put in the game for their little avatar here, or resource hold. But now they're just in the desert. But almost, I have to think back, but almost every recipe that requires squash needs either like pumpkin or like mushroom. So now to do any tier 2 or higher recipe that requires more than one resource, besides watermelon, besides the the fruit salad where it's watermelon and berries, you're gonna have to cross biomes to get them all. So real interesting there. But this is what really gets me, just moving squash to the desert and adding mushrooms to Arctic caves. Like, they're forcing people to go to their shitty biomes because they didn't prepare enough content in the biome, so now they have to move stuff around to actually make us go there, which is good, but it's also kind of lazy. Like, mushrooms don't make sense in an Arctic cave. Like, unless you're going to put some, like, crazy backstory into it about how they're new alien mushrooms, but they're not going to do that. There's, like, no backstory to anything in this game. All right, they removed some instances of trees being placed inside mountains, whatever. Fixed issues where rivers could flicker in certain lighting conditions. Got it. Fixed issues with some problematic dropship locations. Yeah, there were a few times we spawned outside the territory, so we had to get out of there before we got killed. Fixed several caves that were missing resource deposits and other cave functionality. So I'm wondering if this is just tied into them saying they added new caves. Probably the same thing, right? Fixed some caves not using their biome appropriate assets. Yep, there's a couple like that, especially in the Riverlands. Fixed visual issue caused by ambient occlusion on foliage at certain distances. Sure. Improve both visuals and performance on some rock assets. Improve performance on triplanar shader. Fixed issues causing players to be incorrectly flagged as inside a cave at a specific location. I wonder where that was. Leave a comment down below. Tell me if you know where this was, because I don't. I've never run into that myself. All right. Improved performance of desert rocks. What? Improved performance? Like, did they just not do their rocky job last time? Like, would they just bad rocks? Or did they just make the fake rocks real rocks that we can hide in now? Because those desert storms were no joke. Improved performance. Oh, no. I'm skipping stuff. Here we go. Fixed issue preventing fish from spawning correctly in many water bodies. I don't know if it was preventing them. Oops, I closed out of it. If it was preventing them or if they just never set it up and that's just how they're wording it. But now we'll see if there's a lot more fish in a lot of these empty bodies of water. Most bodies of water were just pure empty. Let's see. So added more visuals of distant terrain on outposts. Sure. I don't play outposts. Added more sand to the desert. Now, this is kind of funny because another thing people complain about is how resource heavy this game is for some mid to lower tier PCs. And now they've added more sand to the desert. I can only imagine how much worse that is going to be for a mid to low tier PC. Hopefully it's part of the settings to make that a lot less intense. Improved shadow performance in caves. Yeah, the shadows were pretty awful. I mean, if you look at all my videos, it's bright as day in them. Improved collisions of some rocks to reduce instances where players could not reach the entirety of some mineral deposits. Yep, that's definitely true. It's because you have invisible walls. It has nothing to do with the collisions of your voxels, but like they say, the cave rocks. So I'm assuming they're cave walls. And then improved in performance of in-game map screen, which is nice. It was very buggy and laggy before. So we've got a few things that we do have to go and look out and see how things are done. We got to go take a look at the mushroom caves. We got to go look at some tier 1 caves to see what everything looks like. And we got to go find desert freaking squash now. So, and obviously we got some nice resource reductions here, which is great. So, but what I want to do is I want to jump into Icarus real quick, and let's just not start a new character, just jump on a character here. And let's head down. I want to go find a cave, and let's go see for ourselves what one of these looks like. Like one of these new caves, right? Let's confirm. Let's just go right in. Let's go see what a tier 1 or tier 2 cave looks like. I'm going to go find one, spawn us in, and see if we can noticeably see the difference in voxel quantities. But yeah, guys, if you're loving these content updates and you think week 8 is great, or you just thought the video was great, I should say, let's not leave it to the actual content update. Hit that like button down below. Leave me a comment letting me know what your favorite thing that's actually in the update and what your favorite future content update is. Obviously, I'm going to assume respects for everybody. And if you're new here, do hit that subscribe button as well. We talk about Icarus every Friday or Saturday when the weekly updates come out. They're a little inconsistent, so sometimes they come out Friday, sometimes they come out Saturday, just depending on the devs themselves. And also, don't forget, we live stream Co-op Icarus every Friday night, usually around 7 p.m. Eastern, so don't forget to stop by tonight. But all right, to the caves. All right, here's a cave here. I'm over at just the L12 cave, a little tier 1 cave here. Holy shit. Increase the resources a little bit. What do you mean a little bit? Look at this. The game freaking threw up resource nodes in here. This is obscene. But look, there's still just 1 gold node. But there's a gold node. Oh, two gold nodes. This is crazy. How many are in here? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 22, 3, 24. There's another one back. There's like 24 plus nodes in this little tiny cave. This is ridiculous. It's like a tier 3 cave. Hold on, we got to go look at another cave here. But look at this. That's a shit ton. This is a tier 1 cave, mind you. All right, here's a tier 2 cave now. Jesus, already coming in. There's 4 nodes on my right. It looks kind of similar already. Can't. Ah, I got hit. All right, looking in here, there's definitely more nodes. Look at them all. It doesn't feel as cluttered as that tier 1 cave, though, but Jesus Christ. Yeah, there's still more nodes in here. Not a lot more than before, so it definitely feels like Ooh, hello. So unless this is just like a random generations thing, obviously. So, but there is a gold node. So far we've seen a gold node in every place. But mostly, it definitely seems like the tier 1 cave's got a huge buff and then a slight buff in tier 2. Like, look at this. There's 3 nodes, like, literally touching cheeks over here. All right, perfect. That's what that looks like. And obviously, there's more fish around, too. We're not going to bother go looking at fish. You can go look in the water yourselves and find your own fish. But all right, guys, that's going to wrap this up here. This was the week 8 content. I think this right here is the best part of the content update besides lowered requirements. It's kind of funny that they've added a crap ton more resources and lowered requirements, though. It seems like a double balance. So I wonder if it's going to be too easy to get the tier 4 now. But all right, guys, like I said, if you're loving this, make sure you hit that like button down below. Leave me a comment letting me know what you think so far. And as usual, make sure you hit that subscribe button as well so you get back here for that sweet Shabby content. But as usual, this has been ShabbyDoo, and the rest of your day is not too shabby.